Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's On My Time, and my name is Keith. And we're continuing on the wire harness, the DME wire harness for my 944. Now, since I posted the last video there, you guys have been arguing about how to pronounce the manufacturer's name of the car, and I've been in here getting her done. We've progressed quite a ways on our pin board, but before I continue on from where I'm at right now and we do a little bit more on here, I was asked a lot about why the harness and everything else, because all of a sudden here I have a video and I'm jumping in on the harness. Little history. Between 4 and 5 years ago, I purchased the early 85 944 and purchased it from a good friend of mine, Dennis Jones, All Cape Automotive. He had several of them. I was actually just asking him if he happened to have a car, which I bought a couple cars off of him since I met him back in '86. And I was looking for something for Alex, my son. And he says, "No, I don't have any of those kind of cars." He says, "But he says I have 3 Porsches there." And I says, "Okay, well let me take care of getting my son a car there, and then I'll come over and I'll try one on." And of course, I've seen the Porsches he had, and I actually seen the one that I ended up getting, but it was a toss-up between what he actually had, and I fell in love with the Sapphire Blue, which is actually a steel silver color, and it's the early 85, and there's just something about it that I liked. It had sat for 7 years before Dennis took ownership of it. A young kid had it, and he was dismantling it, and so he had to gather up a lot of parts. Dennis gathered all that up. Once he got it in his possession there, it went into a shop, and the timing cover and belt and all of that was gone through, new seals, that was taken care of. The suspension was touched up as far as the rubbers and all, the arms, 4-wheel alignment. The fluids were drained out of the transaxle and in the rear end there, and all up to par. And Dennis had done a couple other things to it, but pretty much that was it. It was, at least all the parts and stuff were back together with it. And so I took it from there. When I took ownership of it, it had a couple little minor dings in it, and I was putting in a dash cover and a couple other things, and my best friend Vince says, "Hey, we're gonna paint that," and so the following season it went in for a paint job. But before it went in for that paint job, I had already gone from fuel tank to injectors. I replaced everything all the way as far as the fuel goes. And then I went ahead and I pulled off the brakes and I put new rotors. I cross-drilled one set. I got another set to cross-drill and put those in there because I wanted to do that myself. And I'm real happy with the first set that I've done. I have a couple other things that I got to do with it. While it was in there being painted, I went ahead and took the tumbler out for the alarm system. I didn't have a key for it, but it was in the car. And I took it to a locksmith and he opened it up and he made me a key and put it in, and right after the car was painted, and it was painted with the original color with Lazarus paint. And Wayne was buffing it out at the end of after it was out of the paint booth, and he wasn't happy with the undercoat. The clear coat was good, the undercoat wasn't enough paint there. So he said, "Hey, you buy the paint again and I'll repaint it." And I said, "Okay, sure." So the following year, we went through another painting episode. So each 2 years in a row, I really didn't have a lot of driving time on it because it was being, prepped and painted. And the first time it was prepped and painted, all the windows and everything else came out. The same time that all the inner panels came out and the windows came out, I went ahead and replaced the speakers because you have to have the inner panels and all that stuff pulled out anyway to get to those. So, and the alarm, access the alarm on the first year. So I completely went through and I did that, and then I went ahead and paid attention to the interior a little bit more. Then I went the second year. I went ahead and went through and mass airflow, the auxiliary air, pulled the manifold, replaced every bit of vacuum underneath the thing, because it was starting at that time. It was starting to give me the problem of sporadic starting once in a while. It wasn't all the time, and it wasn't enough to actually say it was a problem yet. But hindsight is 20/20, right? And after investigating this harness up to this point right here, there's a lot more hindsight that I actually see that things make more sense. Why there's no doubt that I'm doing the right thing right now. So anyway, last year I got to drive the car a lot when I did get it to start, and it wasn't on damp days. But it actually ran like a champ when it was started, but it was only on cold, damp days that it was giving me a problem. But I also had a sense that it was dumping raw fuel. I could, when I'm decelerating or idling, and it started really having a rough run at it until it warmed up, and then it was okay. But I had experienced that before I replaced all the vacuum system on it, because with a leaky vacuum system, you know what your car runs like then. So it seems like everything that I replaced everything that hooks onto this harness. I mean everything. I've replaced injectors, 100%. Everything that touches this harness, even DME. Remember, I'm an ex-alcoholic. Okay, so I don't have just one of anything. And I'll change them out even if I know that they're perfectly good. But why not? So anyway, that kind of gives you the gist of the car. I love it, and I've had two really nice runs with the car. I took Vanessa the first year. It was painted before we had it the second year. We went ahead and we took a ride all the way over to Hershey, Pennsylvania for a whole weekend. And the ride over there, it was perfect weather. It was nice. It was nice to get it on the road. And we stopped and checked out some nice waterfalls and stuff like that. And I had one good run all the way up to upstate New York by the Canadian border with it. And it ran pretty good, except for when I wanted to start it and come home. And it was icy, icy cold morning. And it took me a little while to start it, but once it did, I was fine. Okay, so now I've done the investigation and the study on everything that's attached to this, and then I got into talking with John from Minnesota, and I started giving bits of information there, and he started giving me some feedback on it, and we went ahead and we're drawing up full schematics for this harness, because I don't actually readily see that in my computered manual, the actual CD manual from Porsche, and a couple other things that I have as far as information. So I'm kind of filling in the blanks, and I'm documenting everything on this harness and every wire. It's colored because I don't have striped wire on everything, but I will letter tag it, each end of the wire. I have two things that's a good helpful aid. I have two harnesses that are pre-made. One is the sensors. It's a little bit long. I'm going to be cutting it, shorten it, and two of these get spliced in. One gets spliced into the O2 sensor, the other spliced into one of the two grounds. The other harness that I got the last one that was on the shelf at that time. I don't know if they're making any more of these, but the injector harness. And then, of course, I'll be cutting back on the sheath and so that everything is fitting in here appropriately with the size and the bundle that we're trying to put in here. And of course, some of that will get tied back, but that goes over to the T9A plug, and that's what that actual Molex plug is numbered there in the manual. All right. What I've done is I've taken a Motortronic and set it up here, and I made it so that I can pull the plug in and out. And I traced it out so that I am going to be spot on my harness. All right. So what I'm doing right now is I'm pulling the harness and splitting everything because I want to save a few wires that are in here. And so I'm getting ready to snip this out here. Now I have a couple clips at the beginning where I was changing the peeling back this piece here and the boot up there by the DME. And these harnesses actually double back underneath the material here, and I marked their finished location, and then I created a new location. And then the blue Sharpie that you'll see on here is nothing more than just jot notes for length of the tubing. And so far that's about where I'm at. So I'm just going to be snipping the rest of this out. Now everybody's asking, hey, have you found anything? Yes, I have. I found two things. One, the grounds that I originally thought was a problem actually is a problem. I'll show you pictures of the harness that I got on eBay, and it's two splices. Even though it's the type of splice it is, it looks like the day it was pressure crimped or whatever they do to actual melt or lock those wires together. I don't know the right terminology, and I don't need to. I'm just letting you know that there's a splice for this number 8 wire, and there's a splice here for this number 10 wire, size-wise anyway. Before I found those crimps, I was just laying the harness in here on the board, and it rolled over. Well, when it rolled over, I'll pull this part out of here. When it rolled over, it exposed this opening, okay? And this opening, this is the injector harness. This opening here, and I looked down in, and here's a picture of the wire when I found it. Not since I've been trying to get everything in here. But when I found this wire, and you can see how frothy looking it is, but it's definitely worn through the shrink wrap, worn through the wire insulation, and that wire has got an enormous amount of area that is rubbing right on the back of either the valve cover or the head after it goes and rolls over the backside of the engine. So what makes the most sense is when I was idling or I was decelerating, that wire was making contact. That wire is the TI sensor from the DME, or the sensor to tell the injector to squirt some gas. So when the power lead comes down on the other side of the leg, it comes from the T9A plug. And what's that doing is it's constantly or continuously giving spurts of gas. Hence the rich gas smell, because I was just dumping raw fuel in there constantly. Oh, there was fuel going in there besides when I needed it. And also, when you turn the key on, and if that's engaging right there, you are automatically squirting gas into the cylinder before you even crank it over. So between this squirting excess gas in there, making it rich on starch, and also wasting gas when you're coming off the freeway or coming down to a slow down on a light. You know, that's where that extra gas is coming in there. So between that and 2 shit splices, I think pretty much, you know, that it's definitely just cause to go ahead and replace this harness. You know, I mean, I could patch that, I could patch this or whatever, but no, that's not my mode of operation here. So we're gonna. I haven't been able to find one of the O2 sensor raw ends with the wire and everything else. So I'm going to reuse that. There's nothing wrong with it. That's not the failing part of this harness. And everything else is going to do good. I have all brand new rubber boots, and I have all brand new clips, and I actually have the new clips, style clips. Now in the comments, everybody's going, "Hey, on those plugs, you just push this wire, and it spreads that." If you have this style, if you have this old style like this, you cannot push shit. Okay, even if this wire is flipped over and it's on the hollow, because I've done that. Okay, and this is out in the open. This is not stuck down in there where you can't get your fingers on it. Okay, you're not going to do that. Okay, the scribe getting these off is not that hard. You know, I enjoy the comments. Okay, if I was looking at this, okay, I could figure that out. Let's see. I don't anything other than that in the comments. Basically, you know, why am I doing the harness and what I found on the harness, and you know, that when I saw that chafing right there, the light went on, and then I could understand the rich gas. And I suspected those splices after I opened up that other harness, and I saw those splices in that harness, and I looked at them. I mean, they were clean, but I still couldn't understand. I'm actually talking with John, and we arranged, and we're gonna be putting crimps on there, and the proper size crimps and the proper tool to crimp those, and then I'm gonna solder them after the fact of that. So I think that's enough talk. I want to get some of this stuff off of here, and but I did want to tag you guys in on what was going on before I actually had it too far past getting to see it in this stage here. All right, so I'm gonna grab my snips here, and I think I gotta go get them. Pretty well made the pin board holding the harness, and we have a few modifications that we're doing to it now, because these first 2 leads on the harness actually double back underneath the shrink wrap. So I got to cut that tape, and they go back here. So that length is actually that much longer, which is probably close to yes, it's close to 100 and 1 inch 300. That's what it's close to. All joking aside, there's going to be an added length in there. I also decided to go ahead and take my extra DME and go ahead, and I pulled the little clips off each side so that I would be able to go ahead and plug this right in, and I'm gonna lay this out. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna hold this harness exactly right. I'm gonna trace this out, and then later on we can go ahead and we can screw it right down to the board, because I want to be able to come in here and plug the wires into as we're building the plug, and I want to be able to take this and slide it right on over and make sure that we're able to fit everything in here 100%. And we're going to be starting, and we're going to be putting in the first ones here and then working our way back that way there so that everything is on the top. If you notice, all the long ones are on the outside, and all of these in here are in close. So I'm going to draw this out real quick, and then we're going to snip that tape, and we're going to start moving this lead here, and then our next one down by the grommet that goes through the firewall. Okay, we finished tracing all of that area there. Now I'm just going to take, and I'm just going to snip this outside wire right here. Peel. There we go. Okay, and this should just peel out. There we go. Okay, so those two leads actually right there, okay, and that's where they go both directions. All right, so now, and they're coming out this way here, and we know that that's closer to being in the right location as the plug rotation, so we're going to try to hold that throughout the harness down the road here. So the very first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and reinitiate our pins right here. And we do have a hole started right here already. Now their original position where they came out is where that tape is right there, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take a line right here. Okay, original. All right, so we know at least that folded back here and came out right there. All right, so this will let us do the length properly, and then this marks where we're actually going to be exiting here. Okay, now we can go ahead and we can move on down to the next troublesome area to mark it properly. Okay, I went ahead and I laid these out, and actually the path of the O2 sensor and the O2 heater here. It was just naturally laying that way there, and this was the T9A plug. Is what this is referenced to as in the schematics, and both of these travel in about that far. I'm guessing I can feel right around in this area right here, or this bulge right here. I know they somewhere in this, maybe about an inch, just like the other end there. There's a double back in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this shrink tubing off of this section right here, open it up so I can see that. We'll pull these nails out. We'll mark original right down the center of those two lines, and then wherever they're at, we're going to make a new trace out here, and then we will lock these in so that we have the exact length. But this original path will be laid out to where when the shrink tube goes back on, they're exiting out from the harness in the same location. We're also going to take a straight line and we're going to mark this grommet location here. Okay, we already marked grommet. We kind of like put this up here, drew roughly around it, and then we marked that grommet line right where we think that actually goes through that body part right there. It actually sits on two bodies. It has a flange here on the outside and an inside on there on the double wall type thing. All right, we pulled our nails out of here, and we took the X-Acto here, and we've come down, and we're kind of like just splitting this on down. Okay, now we're going to roll this back, and you can see that lead right there. Okay, see how that was laying in there like that? Okay, and it's actually on that side, but when it comes up, it comes here, and the other one comes out on the bottom over there. So, and when they're in the car, we're going to have to note that this will be on the top, this will be on the bottom, and so we're going to make that note over here. And this will be top, and this is going to be on the bottom. And this will be original, and this will be original. Okay, now we can finish splitting this off. we know we're going to be reusing this here. There's not too much other stuff in this that we're going to be reusing, but it is nice to not just willy-nilly cut this apart, because we're investigating a couple other things. We're looking for moisture shorts in the splices and a couple other things there, and this is an area where these large grounds are spliced together. Okay. All right. That's really a different color there. Okay. There's one of the splices there. We're going to be looking at that one real close. And there's the other splice right there. We're going to be looking at those. If moisture's got in and kind of deteriorated those, that would be very similar, you know, that would be the scenario problem that I'm actually having. All right, we're gonna lift this up, and we're gonna just try to take that one jacket off without really moving anything yet. Okay, let's lay it back down in the track. There we go, and this line actually comes all the way over to here. That number, the T9A plug is really on that side, and this is really on this side here. Okay. And that, look at that twist there, boy. Does it really need to be twisted like that? It's almost two twists. I could almost lift this thing up right here and relieve that twist by one revolution. Okay, I'm going to make the executive decision. Let's pull this out of there, and we'll disconnect that out of there. I'm going to lightly lift this up, and I'm going to go ahead and take one twist out of this. Put that right back down in here. Okay, now give me some freedom to work these wires and actually take a look at these two splices right here. That one, I don't know. We got red bleeding down here. It actually looks like a red wire with a brown coating on it. Let's go ahead and cut into the splice and see what we got here. That looks old compared to the other harness that we have, that we took apart, that we bought on eBay. That right there does look old. It's still together. It is showing signs of corrosion. All right, that's what I'm, that's really, let's see if this one here kind of breaks apart. That other one kind of broke apart without having to do too much with it. This one looks a little cleaner inside there. It's all holding together, but that's not looking really hunky-dory in there. Okay, now that we've got all of our shrink tubing stripped from our harness, I want to start breaking loose a few of these leads, and I'm going to start pulling the pins out of this Molex cable. Now I made 2 pin pushers or removal tools on the Rutland lathe, and I just used a drill, and I sized the drill real close to the pin diameter, and then the bore size I just had to keep turning until I came into the right bore and get the right distance or the right size inside and outside to fit inside the plastic and over the pin to fold in the little fingers that stick out. Okay, the other one, let's see, I think this is the thin one, small one here, and this large one is actually for the other pin up here, which is a female. Alright, so we're putting labels on these as we pull them out, and the first 2 wires are the ones that go all the way to the very end there for the oil pressure and oil warning. And once you push that back, you close the pin, it just pushes over and then snaps into there, and then the pin, sometimes it actually pushes it out, and sometimes you got to pull it out after you have this in here. Alright, we got that labeled, that's number 9, and we have 6. We want to pull 6 out, and we're going to be unwinding those at the same time. Oh, that, you can hear the little pop, and then it pulls out. And it doesn't damage those. You could reuse them and put them in here, but we got all brand new pins we're going to be using, because these are showing really a lot of signs of corrosion, and we're going to have to clean up our female plug as well that this actually goes into when we install it back into the car. Okay, I put the other tag on here, and I went ahead and I drew a line underneath there so we could tell the difference between our 6 and our 9. Now I make my 9s different than my 6s, but somebody that wasn't reading it could have saw that as a 9. But anyway, here we go. And the reason why we're skinnying down the harness, we want to take our single leads out of here, and we want to start looking at our combination leads where things are joined together. Okay, John kind of made me a procedure of putting this together, and basically we're talking about run the wires for the cylinder temperature from the plug location to their far ends. Here's the temperature, DME temperature, so we run that wire all the way to its end where it needs to go. We have a ground, and we have the yellow lead that runs all the way to the DME plug. And repeat the process for the throttle positioner and the mass airflow valve. And go ahead and take the first section of shrink tube, and I have it marked off here already, because as we were peeling this apart, I marked the start and finish of each layer. And what it is that the shrink wrap tube will get placed on here, heat shrunk back to where this intersection is right here, a little bit past, because the next piece of shrink tube will be coming over the outside of that. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 3 pieces here, and that's the first step in the process here. And the whole idea of where this tube ends, it's actually going to end to where it is underneath the plug. Okay, we're placing the shrink wrap end here to where it's going to be inside the boot, but it's going to leave us enough of the pigtail sticking out the end here. The pigtail is a little section past that, where the plug is going to be in the right position, and when the connectors are added, they'll be slipped in, and then they'll be resting in the plug, and then the plug will be there, and you'll only have a short little section of wire, but it'll be underneath the boot sticking out of the shrink wrap, but the shrink wrap will be up inside the boot. So the good seal right around that shrink wrap right there. So we got a mark there, and we're going to be coming back past where these join, and we kind of got a natural look at it right there. and we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut that right there. All right, and we made this, we color coordinated our zip ties on there at the other end, so we kind of have an idea of where the location is. All right, and I put just a little Sharpie mark right there, so that one's actually going to be right there, and I'll leave that there so we can tie that in afterwards. We're going to be able to pull this up, heat shrink it, and then put it back down and plan out for our next grouping here. Okay, now the next one here, I took a double take on this one here, and I first put a mark there, but I want to go ahead and create a mark out here, and I'm going to lengthen it just a little bit, and I'm going to take this back to the same spot this one is right here, and I like that right there. And the same thing here. Pull that off the nail, and we'll slip that off. We changed the color code on some of our wires here because we don't have striped wires for everything here. Alright, and one more for this one here. And we had lengthened that one a little bit as well. The reason why we're doing that is we noticed that some of not only does tubing shrink this direction here, but it actually shrinks in lengthwise as well. And over a period of time, it also shrinks even more than that. And I'm compensating for a little bit of the shrinkage of age. Okay, I think we'll just about have that one in spot, and we'll go ahead and heat shrink that one there first. I kind of like that. Right there. Okay. All right. Boy, does that beat the heck out of a Bic lighter. I tell you what, that's what I used to use. Okay, we took our next size but stayed in the blue. We're kind of planning out our color combination as we're going here. And because we're going to have this coming in blue, this is going to be coming up here blue, and how far we go before we change over to white and then our red, and then our black will be inside the car. So we're going to have blue out towards the end, white, then red. And there'll probably be you know, a couple streamers coming off for the T9A plug there. I'm undecided what color that's going to be yet. That's probably going to be probably the white again. So we'll have a little red, a little white, and we have some blue. All right, we've snipped off. We have a line here down to here, which is our point A and B is marked out on the diagram that John has laid out for me, and it makes sense to me. So that's going to be our next piece right there. And I think just to help me kind of lay it in here right so that the split is kind of forming in, that'll make them tight right about there. And I'm just gonna kind of put that dot right there will be, those 3 dots will be kind of hidden and just past where those are hiding. I think that's what we'll make that. All right, and we know our colors. I'm not going to bother snaking from the other end. I think I can get all of these through this. And I can. Okay. Oh, now we'll put these right back in the position that they were. And there's our 3 dots right there. And we're just going to bring this up here. And just past the 3 dots right there. I like that. Okay, let's get our heat gun. And we're going to go ahead and we'll start shrinking that. And then we're going to shrink this right in place here. Then we'll be able to pick it up, kind of rotate it. We just want to make sure it grabs in that area right there. The stuff does have a real rubbery texture to it. It does feel really nice, John. I compliment you on the choice of materials you're giving me to play with here. Okay, I like that. Those will probably move around a little bit in relationship to where they're actually located on the car. That's just where they naturally laid for me when I put them on a board here. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on the oil sender on up to this point here. Okay, we got a piece slipped in, and that'll go past that point, and the next sleeve will come on up to about here. All right, and we're down here. We're lengthening this just a little bit down here from the other one. That was a long run, and you know, you just keep on going at it from all sides, and you can tell when it's got a little tiny dimple. It takes out that dimple, and you're pretty well all set and good to go. All right, I like that. That came out nice. I mean, this is nice and flexible. I've never had shrink tubing feel like this, and so this is some new stuff for me to play with. I like it. I like it. All right. I mean, this is a sample of it, and it's almost like a rubber tube. And you know, it bends, but it doesn't collapse. It's like a plastic rubber tube. Really cool. I like that. Yeah, that's a funnel. Okay, I got to the point where I'm gonna change colors. I was getting blue up into here, but let me give you an idea of where we're at here. Okay, this is white. Let's just say from here to here. Okay, I'm just gonna set that there. All right. Now, our black one ends right here, and then this is red. So our big red one is going to be right here in the middle. Okay, so we only have an amount about right there. So blue, white, red, and then we'll have a little bit of tag off. That'll be blue there. We have a couple crowns that come off of there. Will be brown and black, and then we have one lead here that runs over to the T9A plug here, and we'll kind of play around with what color we're actually going to make that, and it may actually be white there too, so we'll have red, white, and blue. Alright, what I did is I preheated the white one here because I wanted to see if my diameter could come down and grab those two right there, and I'm comfortable with there, so I'm going to start there. Then I've already cut this blue one here, and I'll get another blue one, cut it in here. So we're going to do this, slip that in here, another white one, then blue, and then slip that next one in here, and that's how this will fade in there. Now we're going to shrink this tube here, because with the auxiliary air valve, we've got that tagged into here. All of these leads are in here, so I think this is the last one that we put on this strip here before we start adding another section of harness in here. And I think next we're going to be working the grounds, but let me get this heat shrunk on here, and then we're going to go to the instructions that John's laid out for us, and we're gonna really start double checking everything from here on, because we can't make any errors in calculation, because we're going to start getting to where we need to absolutely be sure of wire lengths and the stretch. These are all kind of like flexible. They're going to items. We're going to have a little extra room, but when we start getting into this, we're going to be making up pins with the rest of this, and we're going to have two pieces of shrink tube here, and I think we're going to be playing with those loose until we have a lot of things finalized, and then we're going to heat shrink those after we're really sure of the position. All right, so let's go ahead, and we're going to shrink this one up here, and it's working out fine to go ahead and start shrinking in between the nails here. And I can get on both sides. It really has paid off a lot on getting the other harness and making the plans on all the materials and stuff like that. It really was kind of surprising that I was actually going to get this today. I did put a 2-day or priority express mail, and they did get it out, and just happened to show up. I think they used FedEx to ship it. FedEx driver kind of come by and goes, I've seen this place many times. He says, I've been wanting to come inside, so I gave the FedEx guy a tour of the shop, and he'll be coming back, and he's got a few projects that he might want to work on, and have me help him out. So that was pretty cool. And of course, he made my day coming up with what I needed to put the harness together. We have started fitting up. This is our number 8 ground wire coming in. There'll be an eyelet up here at that end. We have a pair of crimps here, and John had kind of figured out our size of wire and the size crimps, and they're slightly different size on both sides here. So you actually have like a 6 on this side here, and an 8 on this side. So we're going to put that wire in there, and actually this is the ground from the auxiliary air valve, and then our ground. We're fitting these right now, and then we're going to put some flux on them because we're gonna crimp them. And of course, this pair of pliers here, Klein, will be more correct size for the next ground wire that we got going in here. But this number 8 might be a little bit big. It's going to fit in there, and we're going to give it an attempt to crimp it, but we're still going to solder this 100% after we're done. And then we're going to rinse it with acetone to clean the flux off, which was a suggestion from Stan Zinkowski. And we're going to do that, and then after that, then we're going to put a slip cover of shrink wrap over this and seal this and make sure that we have the best ground possible, not like what we had in here originally. All right, we have one other wire. I was tempted not to add in the O2 heater because I don't use it here, but if this car ever went to California or whatever, it would actually have to have it. So we're just going to do it so that it's there, and we can say that we didn't change anything on the harness by design. I like that. Okay, we'll test fit this now. Put that one in there, those two in there, and the third one in here. All right. Okay, cozy. Actually, I think this one here was just a tad long. I'm going to go ahead and trim that a little shorter. And I think when we pushed the other ones in there, that one pushed out because it was sticking through. Okay. All right. I like that. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put some soldering flux on it. And then we're going to crimp it. And then we'll solder it. Okay. I've got the slot facing up because when I solder it, I want to see the solder flow into that point. I've got this sitting off to the side because I'm going to need this throw here to get the pliers in here. And I'm going to have to load it in here like this and get that set up part way like that. And I want to hold these in here, and I'm going to do the pressure with the left hand and see if I can get anything at all on this. I put two little dents in the outside. All right. I actually have a swedger for welding cables. I'm going to go hunt that up. See, now, one, there's not enough leverage, there's not enough area right here for me to get it in there and safely do without losing those wires out of that area there. I happen to have a swedger here, and I think this is gonna give us a squeeze on that. Good base right here. It's gonna be able to go right on the ground here, and we're gonna pick this up. I'm gonna set this in here, and pretty cool as far as the thickness of that material right there. I'm going to do one side at a time. I don't know if that other side's going to like jump out, but definitely going to get something on this, I think. When I nod my head, hit it, okay? All right. Alright, I did get something in there. Shook these out just a little bit. I'm going to realign these so that I can get on this side here. Like I said, we're going to solder them, but this is one of those Chinese things too. Okay, that one needs another little bash there. I like that. Actually, I'm gonna really lay into this side here as well, because it is doing a really nice job. Okay, I cannot pull that apart. Why not? Let's give it one more on this side right here. All right. Wicked cool. All right, let's fire up the soldering gun, and we will go ahead and we'll solder our first splice. And we got enough cord here. Okay, and I got power. This is the very first job I've done with this welder. I've actually had one of these before, and I pretty well had toasted or burned it out for over the years. I think I'm going to get it right into one of those areas right there. And I think this is going to have enough heat to transfer. It's going to take a little while. You're starting to smell that flux. You can start seeing it smoking a little bit. There we go. Keep it on there. Okay, I'm going to change hands and get over here to the other side. Okay, we're going to let that cool, and then we're going to give it a visual all the way around the surfaces there, and then we can go ahead and slip a piece of heat shrink tubing over this after we rinse that off with acetone. This is a lid off of my pellet for my pellet gun, and this is an acetone in here, and this is just an acid brush, and I'm going ahead and just giving this a bath right here. Okay. All right, we'll take this and set it aside. Wait for the next joint there to be done. I tested the insulation on my wiring and stuff in that acetone because that was a question that I had, whether it was going to melt that or not, and it really holds up to it nicely. Alright, now this is the large ground which goes on this side here, and that's my splice mark over there. Okay, we're going to be putting a piece of shrink tube down on here, and of course I got to get it over this plug. Okay, here's our number 10 ground coming in here, and these two are the grounds that come from the throttle positioner and the DEM temperature sensor, and then these two take off and go down to the altitude sender, and one goes to the DME. Alright. They fit up pretty nice, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this old one out of our way, and we're going to put some flux on that one and get that one ready, prepped to solder. that's pretty cool. That almost put the same mark in there as the hammer one. All right, I like that. Okay, let's assemble the other side now. Okay, now let's go ahead and solder those. Okay, let's go ahead and solder this one now, and I'll do the same thing. I'll start on this side over here. This time I'm not coiling up my solder so that I can get a good push on it once it's going. We're not even going to try until we start seeing some of the smoke coming up from the flux. That other one really did solder up nice, real. There we go, starting to feed. No, just easy bending. Now we're smoking. Okay, she started rushing into the middle. Let's switch over to this side. We're going to change hands. Okay. We can see it flowing in around there. We're doing real good. And we're going to go ahead. We got excess down here at the bottom. We're going to go ahead and kind of melt that off of there. All right. All right, we'll let that cool, and then we'll do the acetone. Give it a little acetone bath here now. We're just really making sure that we get that, we can see it, some of that flux. Right between the wires. The reason why you want to remove the flux is so that it doesn't continue eating and etching at the wire itself. Thanks for the reminder, Stan. Okay. Alright, we kind of laid those straight on out there, and I think we're ready for the next section here. Okay, we made up our ground splices. We shrink wrap those. They're all set. Slide a piece of heat shrink long enough to reach from point E to point F. Point E is to there, point F to there. All right. Alright, and we're going to put a little dash of red in here. Okay, and we only need a point. This is point E to F. We're working from A, B, C on down this way here. I know I said the other way around, but... Alright, our scissors are right here. And we also are going to take... We're just double checking the length of the old one there. And that's pretty good. So we're going to take it right to there. All right. Okay, the pink and the green, everything's in there. And it says, do not shrink wrap this yet. Okay, let me bring you up to speed. We slid our red shrink wrap up here. We slid it past where it needs to go after we put the injector harness through here, the speed reference harness through here. Then we slid up our grommet for the firewall. And then this is the grommet for the O2, and this is the grommet for the DME plug itself. We're going to slide that down through here, but first we were going ahead and sliding our O2 sensor wire through here. Now we've snipped it free so that the shield is not tagging the reference sensor. So we're going to be plugging it directly into its own plug on the DME plug, because the new harness for the sensors has a combined plug, and we'll be putting that in on 5-pin, which is usually the ground and shield from the reference sensor. But the reference sensor ground can go to either one, or the O2 sensor ground can go to either one. It's a common ground. So we added a little bit of tight shrink wrap in a couple areas that were in the folds or the bends in the tight spots. There was a little bit of wear on them, and we just kind of liked it. We put a new piece here because we had to split this off to detach and check out the wiring to determine that. Now we're going to take my real large Craftsman screwdriver, carefully putting it underneath here, and then turn it sideways like a shoehorn. Because we still have the ends on here that we're going to reuse, and we want to see if we can snake these through here. If we can get enough room, we might have to get the shoehorn right up on top of one lead there. There we go. And I think this is somewhere in that neck of the woods there. It's down in there. We're going to be sliding things back and forth, but I think we're gonna release it right there. All right. That's the general location that it stays in. This grommet will be sliding down to this position here, so we're giving ourselves a little bit more load this way here on this. All right, now we're going to do the same thing here and getting this through this okay. All right, now we caught up with the instructions, and I believe the next thing we got to do is we got to feed all the wires remaining that go from the T9A plug to the DME plug. We're going to set up and we're going to do that. Probably push these through one at a time. Alright, we got those wires fed through there. This is going to go there. We kind of gathered up this. This is all going to go to the T9A, so I'm just going to put, so it's kind of neatly here. I'm not going to try to get it down into the nails here right now. And just so that they're together. We can clip this off afterwards. Okay, now let's go ahead and we're going to kind of lower this down just a little bit into the harness here because we want the general distance gauged from the end of the harness there, because we're going to stretch these out and we're going to connect the DME plug at this time. Now John emailed me last night and said make sure the last shrink wrap, that's the black one that goes in here, that goes inside the car body and under the dash. Here's the plug. He said make sure the plug goes all the way. He gave me the super heat shrink, alright, and because we're going to make up the plug and then we're going to slip this all the way over and then set and shrink that and slide these into place, then slide the red one back and shrink wrap that. But we're going to be doing something with the 9A after we have the DME. So this will be the first plug we'll address, and then that'll be the second, and I think one of the last things we do is actually slide this over the plug and heat shrink that in there. So we'll continue. We're not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves. So what I'm going to do now is, I think I'm going to put, because I made this up so that I can put 2 screws in there, and then I can work the plug and make sure that it all stays here at the right length from everything else, and I get the right length on all the wires, and then we're going to be jigging up so that we can make that wire and that plug and attach all of these to that DME plug. We're just lining up our scribed out lines that we had here. Okay, and put one in over here. That'll be holding it close enough that. Alright, now we washed our plug and we actually picked the back of our original one, and the one we bought off of eBay, we're going to use it because originally, back before I received the car, somebody had been picking at the 4 wires that go for the sensors, and they were sticking in probes, and they wallered out the holes right there. And I just, when I started having problems, I pulled the plug and I looked, and I knew that somebody was digging in there, and they damaged one of the pins, and I replaced my O2 sensors, and that was all part of the process of finding things. But I pulled the back of this off, and I actually pulled that pin, that connector out, and reattached one and put it back in, and things like that. So anyway, we're gonna be running the combination of the 2, and we went ahead and pulled off our pieces here so this thing pops in and out real easy. And we'll go ahead and pull this one out of here so that we have the numbers on the side, because we can't see our numbers here all the time. You know, we want to make sure that we're getting our pins assembled in the right number. So this is going to be our guide here. And before we lose that little screw, this is our DME harness spare kit container, and we can put this in here as well. It'll be going in there later on anyway. Alright, and we don't need that right now, but it'll sit there. And then this will be, our numbers are here and across here, and that's our guide to where we're going. And we're going to start with our number 1 here and work our way that way. Alright, our first wire is going to be this number 1. This wire originally is green, but the size wire I have available in my inventory that I picked up was brown, so we're just going to mark it. It's number 1 wire to the DME plug, but it's also number 1 wire to the T9A plug. And I'm going to go ahead and take our strippers here. We think we got this kind of figured out to the right length. Taking a couple practice shots at it. and that lays in there, and that will go around the insulation there. That looks pretty good right there. All right, and we've got out our grease here, and we're gonna grease the wires as we crimp them. And this hasn't been poked yet. There we go. We got a poke. We're gonna squeeze some out here. I don't think I'm gonna bother putting the cap on and filling that up with grease and stuff yet, because I don't really have a need to squirt it in anywhere yet. So I think we're just gonna roll it out here. Everything is clean, and I'm just gonna work it a little bit into each of the wires, just like that. Nothing real fancy, and I just want to make sure that I got some in there. All right, and our dab rag is going to be over there. After I bent that one and I looked at it and I saw the little coloration in the chocolate brown here, was showing that I was kind of stressing that, and I kind of wanted to regroup and just try another couple ends there so that we can come up with a happier fit up here. But I'm going to use this, I can use this now as my gauge for each of the other wires in reference to how this is bent and where to go ahead and cut the end and then crimp it for the end of the wire. Alright, so this is my gauge now, and there's my cheater. I readjusted my stop on this, and also too, if you just grab a wire and you pull it and then you look at it real close, it's not an even break on the insulation. So I kind of got the hint where I can go around and kind of score that line slightly, and then when you pull it, it breaks it more clean. All right, now I have a little less stick out, but when you put that in, the pin itself, it's not crammed up to the head here. There is a tiny bit sticking out, and the insulation crimp is more around the insulation. It looks a lot cleaner. I'm glad I chose to. And this is actually this number one wire, believe it or not, is pretty important. All right, not that all of them aren't important. So we're going to go ahead and we're just dabbing a little more grease on here, and we're just redoing this one here. And then when we go to bend it over, we're going to pre-bend this thing and get the shape by hand. No sharp tools stressing out the insulation there. All right, and here we go. And I think we got our crimps down a little more pat here now. Okay. Yeah, we like that. Okay, let's move this on up a little bit here. The tool's a little narrower than that strip right there, but that's cool. I like that. And that can still flex. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll go for the and I believe we were on the 4-3, which would be that one there. Okay, a little nicer. Now here was the thinking, what should should it follow the curve or I mean the crimp inside or outside, but either way. All right, and there we go. All right, and that's in there. Okay, and we can just hand form that. I like that. All right, I think we got the method. I think we got the method now. Okay, we got down to the next section of instructions here. If I remember where I put them. Okay, because we just ran some tests. Here's my paperwork right here. All right, ran some tests and tested out our plug 100% with all of its leads because we wanted to button this up. And John was thinking we could shrink wrap this, but I'm not comfortable with how much I'm taking up as far as the shrink wrap. I want it to come in and I want the shrink wrap to be a nice blend in here when we pull the red sleeve over here. This is 4 inches back from where it is to get the overall piece of black that's going to go from here to here. And this rubber boot that goes over here, the reason why I tested this whole thing is I wanted to button this plug up 100%. And just like I can plug it into the DME on the bench here, and then I worked out the rest of the play in the harness here, and I'm going to run this. I can roll this grommet, and I've got the altitude and the tack leads already laying down here, and then this grommet's going to roll up here, and I'm going to go ahead and put this rubber boot right up in place and then roll the small part back so the whole grommet will be actually up on the DME snout right here. There was once this is on, one band of zip tie goes around here and another band went around here, and there was a piece of tape on the two leads, and they just kind of come out and they're on the back side of this. So when when you're looking at the steering wheel, this plugs into DME. It's turned around and upside down. So this will plug into the DME, and then those two leads go right up to the steering column area right there. So that's kind of how this goes on here. But by me going ahead and getting this up on here, I'm trying not to do any soap or anything else, but okay, so I can get that right up around there, and that's fine for right now. So even after the I can push this back down here and then roll this out and then get that back down. There's no problem there. Okay, so the rubber boot is in a good spot right now not to have to worry about it going over the shrink tube. That's kind of my whole thought. And it's not going to make this any bigger to go ahead, and this is the mega shrink right here. Okay, this is going to be that. Hopefully. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to plug this in here, because that's how we marked everything off. Is we had everything on here. Now, of course, I'm going to bring these forward now, so the shrink tubing will come on up to here, and the shrink tube is right at that edge right there. So after I heat shrink this tubing on here, then I can bring this grommet up to here where it belongs. And then working these leads over here and finish taking out any excess that needs to go that way there. We should be in Fat City. Alright, so I'm going to mark it and I'm going to cut it. Okay, I like that. We got more than enough in case I mess it up. Okay. Thank you for figuring that one out, John. All right, and we're gonna be holding this thing up, and we're gonna shrink wrap that right in place. I like that. These are gonna be able to come right above. I got 2 shrink tubes that are gonna go over these leads, and then I'll put the ends on here. Then they lay back over the top of this with 1 band of tape. That rubber boot goes over, and that puts that to bed. This will get shrunk down, and this one will come on over the top here. It's going to be great. Okay, let's heat shrink that on there. Okay, this is where you get a drum roll, and watch me shrink this right before your very eyes. It's going to be unbelievable if that shrinks down to somewhere close on there. And this is still pliable after 32 years. I'm gonna get a piece of cardboard here. That's what I've been getting pieces here so that it kind of rests above my nails, and I can freely hold things up and move it and twist it around. All right. I'm cranking up the heat a little bit. I think it'll probably need it. I could do that. Probably won't be able to do it again, but I got the gun all the way up now. I'm going to back off a little bit from it as far as how far I am, but yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do this with my Bic lighter, that's for sure. I'm going to see if I can roll this over somewhat here. Or come around to that side as well. That way I can get somewhat on that side. Pretty amazing. How about that, huh? Yeah, just like the real deal, huh? Real deal. All right. Okay, we're going to let that cool down now, and then I'm going to see if I can get that grommet up over here. I might have to go get a little soapy water or something, squirt on there. I grabbed my little soap at the sink there, and it's cooled down a little bit. It actually still, it's got a little bit of warmth to it, but I want to get this slid into place here so I can see how much extra we got over here and start planning for the other plug. I'll plug this in here. We can kind of play with that. So far, everything's worked out good here. And so I'm just taking this just soapy water, and I don't really want a whole bunch coming down in here, but it'll dry out. Okay, get some soap around here. All right. Okay, there we go. Doesn't take much to get that started. Okay. Now, I'm going to pull these nails right now just so I put them in, I've changed them a couple times, and I just want to have this down and easy, and we'll go ahead and we're gonna push that past. Let's see if we can get that snout coming back out at. I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? We'll just go ahead and we'll go down here a little bit more and then dry it off and let it pull that back out. I'm just trying to pull that. There it is, it's almost out. There it is. Okay. Okay. Now that we got it out, we're going to go ahead and wrestle this right back down there. And that's why I didn't want this thing to be up against those nails while I was doing that. Okay. Right there, lined up with where the grommet's drawn out on the board. I like that. Okay, now see, I picked up another inch or so I can really get my shrink wrap that's going to be in here for these to be setting just right. This one here will come over the top and comes right out right there. There's the line right there. Nice. Can't complain there. Well, I could, but who's going to listen? All right. I like that. And I think we're going to put white down on here. How much white do we have left? Let me see. Do we have enough white? Okay, there's one line right there that I'm using from the old one, the old line, and that goes for the O2 heater, and that's an old line, and that's going to tell me that it's long enough, and both of those will be just like that. Excellent. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and be able to heat shrink that on there now, and yeah, we'll get that. We'll pull all those out as far as we can, and we're going to go ahead and heat shrink that. I'm going to see if I can just keep that one back out of the way until I can pull it up forward. Or would it be best to go ahead and work that plug before I actually shrink that? If I go like that, does it give me a little bit more? I think I'm going to make up my my 9-pin right now. Okay, I think I got enough nails and stuff out of here. We just shrunk the shrink tube on here. We made up the 9 plug. Took us a little while there. We actually tagged 2 of the wrong red wires together, mapped it out after we figured out what we did, and everything is kosher now. All right, so I got 2 more nails here. I want it free of nails in this midsection here. All right, everything's should be good now, and we don't need any of that right now. These are going to be coming out over on this side, and the grounds will be coming out over on that side. And we're going to slide the red shrink wrap up here now. Now this one here was on that, they were 180 from each other. One went out there, one went out there. So I think that shrink wrap was right about there. The grounds came out of here like that, and that shrink wrap was there and right there. We can put that down like that, and this here, as long as it's straight across from each other, I think that's pretty kosher. Right there and there. Okay, we're going to let that relax, and we're going to let these relax just straight across from each other. Like that. If we leave it like that, that should align it pretty good right there. All right, let's shrink it. Yeah, look at that, comes out right there. This one comes out right there. That's all right. We'll leave those in that line right there. That feels pretty good in there. Let's go. Awesome. Okay, and we're just going to let that sit like that, and injector harness. Pretty cool. All right, Sunday night here. Almost got it done. I got a few more ends, and heck, I don't want to rush it, but I made a lot of headway. The injectors have got a little bit more length on them, and also the reference sensor and the speed sensor for the flywheel area has quite a bit more, but I'd rather make do and give it plenty of rerouting inside the engine compartment there. It'll still end up in the same spot, but it won't be so bent over. Those other came over and they ended up about right here, but they were bent over hard, so I can just string it out long and have them come in sweeping. It'll be fine. It was pretty amazing that shrink wrap went from that to that. Pretty awesome. Couple more leads there for the tack and the altitude. Bring over the rubber boot. And the eyes on the main grounds. And auxiliary air valve. Just a temperature gauge for the dash. The DME temperature sensor that gives the computer the right temperature reading. Mass airflow. Throttle positioner. And the oil sender. That's it. Okay, I'm getting ready to set the intake on, and I'll have to lightly set it down, and then I have two rubber hoses, this one here that comes in from the Venturi, and that J hose down there on the bottom, and then it pretty well sits right on the manifold mounting holes right there on the top of the head. And then we'll go ahead and we'll cinch that down, and then we can continue on with our harness. Meaning we need to figure out how this comes around here and how it best fits the scenario now. We had pretty tight time getting that in through the firewall, and I wrapped a little bit of black tape around the top there just because the red shrink wrap was just molested a little bit from me putting the rubber grommet in the firewall. Underneath, the gas pedal is hitting it right now. I need to pull the driver's seat, lay on my back, get underneath there, and zip tie it over to the crash bar that's in there. That's what I call it. It's a steering wheel support, and hold it out of the way, and then it won't interfere with the linkage. But we do have our new accelerator linkage in, which is good. We did that while everything was out of there, and we're pretty well all set, good to go. The oil sender cables or lines are already down there, and I was able to get the one little wire guide snapped in. I have another one there, gets snapped in after the other accessories get put on down there, and that's about it. It's really clean. We cleaned up everything in here, and we're real happy with our progress so far. And as long as the manifold sets on there and the rest of our harness goes, we might be able to fire this thing off in a little bit. We're not going anywhere. We need to put in our power steering. We're waiting on lines for that, but doesn't mean we can't start it. Okay, moment of truth. Vanessa just came home, and I said I was just about ready to fire it off, and she said, hang on, I haven't had my time yet. She comes walking over with a little bit of water left in her holy water bottle that she carries around. I've got the fire extinguisher here. I always should have it handy on fire offs for the first time. Pretty sure I got all the fuel lines tight. Kind of double checked everything. The harness is in all the way along the back firewall. I left everything loose. I'm going to zip tie it after I'm 100% sure of everything. I've got extra grounds, brand new battery ground. The wire harness did tuck in there really nice. The combinations coming up there for those three right there. Excellent. The extra leads just double back on the crankshaft sensors, speed and reference. All right, we have no pressure on the fuel rail. We're going to turn the key around or on. We're going to see if we can get fuel pressure up to the rail. Long time, baby. All right, neutral. We're still on blocks here. All right, let's see if we got, hey, we got oil and battery. Sometimes those didn't come on. That's good. Okay, I think I just heard fuel pressure line. Let's double check. I just want to see if I got fuel pressure before we're actually. Not yet. Okay. Okay, I'm not reading the tack. I got the racing seals in there, so it's going to stick a little bit. A little bit of smoke off the headers. Got it 30 pounds there. That's good. Okay, so I just got to chase out a tack wire, and it could be just my plug underneath the dash there, feeding the automatic shift signal. Pretty cool. Okay, I gotta do some checking out, guys. Tack's working. Switched 2 wires. So out of all those wires, I only had 2. Temperature gauge is working great. Fuel gauge. Tachometer. Alright, everything is working great. So this is what a hydraulic power steering pump looks like when it's not leaking. And the rest of the lines. We got 4 brand new lines. Main pressure line, return line, we got a cooling line, and a lower return line. I got a ground strap I got to put back. There's actually a ground strap going from the cross member to the steering box, so I got to tap the hole and tap that in there. I'm not going to put a sheet metal screw in it like it was originally done. Alright, I inherited a leaky Porsche. So far, looks like I've taken care of this one.